near the river, northern Saunders County. And if we have time at the end, I'd like them to talk about their place and their plans because, this is part of the idea is to recruit as many people who want to pass on their legacy. And there are a number of people close to retirement who would like to see things continue, may not have children or other relatives who want to take over. And we're looking for ways to network people so that we can do this as a group, so that this land doesn't go into corn and soybeans with all the chemicals and stuff like that. So that's the bigger context. And are we in business now as far as?
Yep, we're up and running.
Oh, okay, so you want this back?
No, you go ahead and do whatever else. Are you done?
I'm done, yeah.
You're done,
Yeah.
okay. Well, thank you for that very generous introduction. Very good. Well, my name is Raymond Hain, and I want to reiterate what Chuck just said. Let me get this on here. Lots of fun always. Okay, let's hope my lantern doesn't mess with the audio. If it does, tell me, okay? Yeah. All right, well, like I said, my name is Raymond Hain. I am the farm manager at the grain place. I've been there for 3 years now. It's just a start. As you all know, in agriculture, 3 years is just a start. I was brought there in order to try and train the next generation of farmers. And we've had a couple of different people come, and I've done my best to train them, and they've, for different reasons, have gone on to other places. So right now we are again looking for somebody to come under my tutelage, and we will do our best to train that person, and the object is that they would take my position. So if you're looking for an opportunity to work in agriculture, talk to me before you talk to any of these other old guys around here. Because we need somebody too. So don't talk to them, talk to me, come and talk to me. Yeah, or to Chuck, or, well, no, Chuck knows too many people, don't talk to him either. Talk to me. Yeah, all right, good. So let's see if I can get this to work. How do I need to do this? Is it up and running? Yep. Oh, very good. So here's a panorama of our farm, and I just want to, I want you to know that I cleaned up for you guys before I came. You know, how many of you take a shower every night and shave? Really? Wow. So, I mean, it's great to be a farmer, isn't it? Once a week, whether you need it or not, right? Isn't that the way it is? How many of you have a pocket knife in your pocket? Yeah. Does anybody have a pair of pliers? Hey, good. All right. Somebody serious is with us. How about how many of you own a pickup and need it? You know? How many of you have a cousin who owns a pickup and doesn't need it? Yeah, right. I mean, we know how that is. It's just great being a farmer. The opportunities we have. How many of you love to get up in the morning and watch the sunrise? You know? Yeah, amen. And the sunset's great, but the sunrise is really fantastic because all the hope for a new day. Let me just start by, I want to thank the Lord for it. You know, I thank the Lord for just the blessing of being a farmer and being involved in farming. And it's a privilege. And part of what we're trying to do is help get things back to the way creation was intended. And that's what was talked about a little bit yesterday with our Indian friends. They're talking about, let's get things back to where it's the way it's supposed to be instead of confined hogs. And so let's have a little fun. I wonder if I just, let's do that. So I want to just thank the SARE people. They helped us with the grant that is letting us do this research. And so this is who's providing the funding for our research. And what we're doing is trying to see what the difference is between Drylot raised hogs, So not confined hogs, but dry lot hogs and open pasture hogs, or rather managed hogs, and specifically silvopasture hogs. So let's go on to the next one, and let's see if this is, might take a little while to upload. The silvopasture hogs, is this going to go for me? It's supposed to be a video. Great technology again, huh? This is a, I'm afraid if I click on it, it'll do something I don't want it to do.
You probably needed to be hooked up to the internet.
Oh, maybe so. Okay, well, this is an interesting video. How many of you have looked at the videos and seen these videos where they're coming out of a field like this and a herd of pigs comes running out? Have any of you seen that? It's incredible. So this, as this chopper is coming out, there's at least probably close to 100 hogs come running out of this field, and they're feral hogs. They come running out of this field and go across the field and into a creek. What does that tell you about pigs? What does that tell you? They're grazers. What else does it tell you about
They're
it?
invasive.
They can be invasive. How did you see the article this last week in California that the feral hogs are becoming a real problem? So much so that they're tearing up the golf courses. Now that becomes serious when they start messing with who cares about the food supply, you know? If you get into the golf course, then we're gonna, so what are they doing? They're trying to see if they can pass a law to allow a license for hunters to hunt feral pigs year-round without a limit. So that's pretty radical for California, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, who cares about the food supply? We're worried about our golf courses.
Well, feral hogs are impossible to maintain and to reproduce because they don't have gestation crates.
Okay. So he says feral hogs are impossible to reproduce because they don't have gestation crates. Yeah. Wow. Okay. What's the point, though, is that hogs do great on their own. And that's their natural environment. That's how they are. Hogs are that way. And when we put them in a confined situation, they're just not at all happy. And we don't want to do that. And part of what we're trying to do, like I said to begin with, is to move back to something that's more natural for the hogs. And let's move ahead then.
Is there any way to get that to go? I'd love to see those hogs running out.
So just all you have, I think I have to be hooked to the internet, and I forgot to do that before
Wi-Fi.
It's okay. You can go and look at it on your phone. You know, you all have a phone like this, right?
My dad does.
Yeah. You don't need anything more than that, right? The cattle don't buy, anyway. Let's go back to what we're supposed to be talking about. Pigs, not cattle. So let's move on. Just go to Google or to YouTube and type in feral hogs coming out of a cornfield, and it'll come up. Okay. So what we have here, and let's see if does my cursor come on there? It doesn't come on there, okay. So what we have here is an overview of the land that we have. Here's Highway 14 coming north out of Aurora, and we're just on the east side of the road. And you can see our sign very clearly as we come in. This little triangle pasture right here is the pasture that we are developing for silvopasture. And so it's it's about 7 acres, I believe. And the object, what we're hoping to do is to divide it up into several little sections and then rotate the hogs through those sections as we in order that they would have a nice change in pasture and never pressure the pasture too hard. That's part of what we're wanting to do, because pigs will pick a spot and they'll tear it up really bad. So let's go on. This is from the USDA, and this is their definition of silvopasture. So silvopasture, what is it that we got to be involved in order to effectively do silvopasture? Canopy management, which is managing the trees. So we'll talk more about exactly what we're doing with that triangle. And part of it is trees, putting trees on it. Tree protection, of course, when you first plant the trees, you got to protect them because the rabbits and the deer go after them. And then also provide them with the water they need, which I'm sure you all know. Weed control, soil amendment, hay harvesting. One of the nice things about it is you can harvest some of the hay that is there. Tree pruning, especially if you have nuts or fruit trees in your pasture, in your tree mix, then you can prune them if you take care of them and prune them, which is a big challenge and a lot of work and a lot of management, but you get a good return, and the pigs are very grateful for it. Rotational grazing, pasture renovation, we'll talk about that in a little bit, and grazing management based on total forage. These are the things that you have to do, is to take care of them. What are the advantages? Diversification of income streams. Some people even harvest the nuts and the different fruit from the trees. Probably in our case, we will let mostly the pigs harvest those things, but it's to their advantage as well, and they'll grow better. If you are interested in raising something like walnuts or other harvestable wood trees, then that can come into it. Shade for the animals is a big plus for the animals. You all know that cattle do better, pigs do better if they have some protection from the sun in our wonderful Nebraska summers. Improved plant nutrition, high-value wood products from active limb management. Again, you can harvest the wood and other things. Cooler environment for the summer in the livestock, which we touched on, and some wind and weather protection, which, again, you want to provide some shelter for your animals. So silvopasture is a big plus in all of these things, and it's a good thing. Charles, do you want to say anything at this point on this? Let me give you.
Yeah, this is a good form of diversification. And could we go back to the, go back for a minute to the big map of the farm so we can look at that. This is a big part of the farming operation at Grain Place Foundation. This is a 9-year rotation with the average field size about 12 acres. And there are 2 replications, so we can actually analyze stuff from this trial. It's been going now for since 2002, so it's just through the first 2 cycles of the rotation. And there are 3 years of grazing as a part of this 9 years. And this has all been ruminant cattle, beef cattle so far. But one of our long-term visions is to include the hogs as part of this highly diverse system, and even sheep. And that causes some people to pause a bit in Nebraska, but yeah, among my friends.
How do you keep them inside? That's the challenge.
Well, that was going to be my question, is if there are examples out there of, I know it's pretty common for people to do like cattle and sheep and chickens, but I didn't know if anyone included hogs in like a larger multi-species rotational grazing situation like that.
So the question is whether anybody includes hogs in the rotational system. So go ahead.
Yeah, and our example from Argentina, where they do cattle, chickens, and hogs. Hogs come last, and they kind of tear it all up and get it ready for the next cycle. But talk about integration and marketing. The one farm we visited had this in strips. It was really highly controlled. The brother of the guy who was running the farm had a butcher shop in the nearby town. So they were, vertical integration, I guess, which we usually think of as bad if we're talking about JBS or somebody. But, at the local level, this is a great thing to do.
The USDA approval
He
Yeah.
comments that if you can pass the USDA approval. So, yes.
Question, Ruth.
We do not exact rotation, but we have chicken, hogs, and cattle. And so we use the hogs where right now we hardly have any community. But, and so we find that.
Why don't you wait
the
just a
key
moment?
is
Let
that
me-
if they're born
here.
If they're born.
Why don't you start over?
Oh, so we don't have very many hogs right now because can't get a butcher date, so we didn't,
No kidding.
yeah, whatever. Anyway, so we have chicken, laying hens, hogs, and cattle, and when we had more, paddocks of them, but we found the key also was to have them if they're born on pasture, so they already know a wire. We have a couple right now that weren't born on pasture, Leisha. And so
That's
they,
the pigs?
yeah, the pigs. And so that's the only thing, but otherwise it works great. And they eat so much so quickly, it's more up to you how fast you want to move them and, or how, if you want them to eat bindweed roots or that kind of thing, or if you want to just move them through for forage,
Yeah.
I think, but yeah.
Very good. Do you do anything with sheep?
No, we have done sheep years ago on another farm, and we used like poultry netting, sheep containment, and vegetables don't grow very well together. So because the sheep don't necessarily mind a poultry netting kind of fence, so I think the fencing is it's doable. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
Yeah. David keeps trying to convince me to get sheep, and I'm saying we don't have the fences yet to do sheep.
Just one more thing. Raymond talked about going back to, conceptually, that's great, but this is a prairie, folks. You know, this is not a forest area. Silvopastoral stuff is much more popular in the southeast part of the U.S. and in the tropics and a lot of places. So we're really talking about an innovative system for the plains, and it's another way to diversify. So, yeah, great ideas.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. We'll hear more from Chuck in a little bit. Yes, Paul.
Just a comment.
Just hang on just a second. Let me give you the mic.
Just a comment, Ray, with regard to your reticence to sheep. I will say that under the right management and when you search out markets that are possible, they're far more profitable than cattle are.
Okay, very good. A good comment. A good sheepdog is her comment, yes. What's your name?
Laura Thomas.
Laura Thomas, okay. Thanks, Laura. A good sheepdog, that's true. I was at the state fair the other last year, and there was a sheepdog demonstration. He wanted a couple $1,000s for his dog. It'd take a few sheep to pay for that, I'm afraid. Okay, well, let's move on. We're getting way behind. All right, we looked at that. This is then a little look at the actual piece of ground that we're going to develop, and we are in the process of developing. We have terraces here along this way, and we've put trees in here, and we're going to look at that more closely, and we had to redo the actual pasture land because it was very poorly filled with the grasses were really bad. And so anyway, so the first thing we did, so one of the real challenges is how should we divide this up? So we've got a triangle like this, and I'm open to suggestions. We've been talking about different possibilities. This is a waterway running down through here, so we've got to be careful with that. And how can we divide this up? Like I said, David and I are talking about different possibilities of dividing it up. We would ideally have a central location where we have a shelter, water, and feed. And from that central location, then they go to the different paddocks at different times.
So, in that, are the terraces angled with the green strips?
The green strips are the terraces. That's
Okay.
actually the
Do
terraces.
you have any more terraces in the brown area, the triangle?
There are no other terraces than those. Yes, just those.
And where's your water source?
The water source is on this point. We'll see it in a little bit.
Okay.
Yes.
So
We can talk about that in a little bit. It's something I want you to think about, and again, yeah, I'm very open to suggestions how we might do it. I was suggesting to David that we just cut it off here, but he's saying this waterway in the middle, if they have constant access to it, they'll just destroy it. So we're thinking about other possibilities. All right, well, we kind of have to move. The first thing we did was we let the pigs in there into the pasture. We double fenced it and put the pigs in there and just let them tear it up because, like I said, the crop or the plants that were there were mare's tail and ragweed and all kinds of stuff you don't want. So we just let the pigs have a heyday and let them just tear it up as much as they wanted. It included, I should have pointed out, there's on the east fence is a little bit of trees. Well, that's these trees and a heavy plum thickets. Well, the problem with plum thickets is they just keep marching out. While pigs are good at keeping it pushed back.
Right.
And so you can see we let them pressure those plum thickets pretty hard on this occasion because we wanted to get it pushed back a little bit. So we put the pigs in there, let them plow it up. Then we came in, we prepared the land and seeded it to the grasses that we wanted, grasses and legumes we wanted. And so we have now a nice pasture out there predominantly. There's a few places that we'll need to reseed, but for the most part, it's pretty good. Let's see.
What grasses?
Now, see, David was supposed to be here. David isn't feeling well this morning, so he could. Yeah, we have a big mix, probably at least 10 different.
Cold or warm?
Both cold and warm season. Yes, what are the grasses?
Any clovers or legumes?
Yes, there are some legumes in there as well. Yes, yeah. So this is a little shot of the terrace. This is the south terrace. And so we have the main terrace that runs here, and we've got a secondary berm that runs just downhill from the terrace a little bit. The idea here is that we are going to catch water and hold it in this part of above the berm. This side of the terrace, we're going to let the water, and we're trying to slow it down so it doesn't erode, doesn't cut. We'll move the water around to the point of the pasture and then let it go on out into our neighbors. But we want to capture as much of that water and hold it for the trees, sake of the trees, and let it, so we've got the secondary berm to catch some of that water. Let's move on. Here's just another picture of the same terrace, and you can see the rough dimensions of it as I'm standing on it. It's a pretty good sized terrace, and it looks very good. So then one of the things then that we did is put in some trees, and you can see right here one of the trees, and there I'm pointing to one of the trees. And of course, we did at the time that we put the trees in, we didn't have the drip system in, so we didn't get this survival rate that we were hoping for. But since then, we have put in the drip system, which you can see, and we will be putting in more trees and more bushes, so hazelnuts, these are oaks, and other things to provide some different nuts for the trees. And then you were asking where our supply of water comes from. We do have a line that runs all the way to this pasture from our underground irrigation system, and then we'll hook into that line for the drip system and also for the supply line for the water for the pigs in the future. So these are the things that we're trying to get set up, and this is what we use the SARE grant for at this point, to provide that berm, provide that terrace, and provide the drip system, provide the trees, and to reseed the pasture. So it's a pretty extensive process to get it all up. Let me see one more slide here on this one. So this is then, you can look at it and you can see the different grasses that we have, many different grasses. This is the second year. Last year is when we planted it. This will be the second year. We will not put the pigs in yet this year. We will graze it with the cattle, but we're not going to yet pressure it with the pigs yet. And we'll continue to set up the fencing system. And probably we will put in the temporary fencing to see that it works first. And then once we get it set up the way we want it and seeing that it is going to work, then we'll put in more permanent fencing. But to start with, we'll probably just put in some hot wires. And thankfully, our pigs respect them hot wires very well. Yes, Luke?
How many acres are in this triangle there?
So question, how many acres in the triangle? It's about 7. So
How many pigs do you anticipate?
we would hope to 30, 40 pigs, maybe more. Yeah, typically we run 50 pigs twice a year. So we may go that far. We'll see how it can carry them. Yeah. All right. All right, so this is what we have planned, what we really have been done already with the SARE grant, and what our intentions are in the future with the SARE grant. Let's go back to the overhead again. What did we do in order to try and get some research and information on pigs? We instead of working out here, then this past year we just took a small section from one of our 4th year pastures. So we have 2 pastures, this one here and this one here, that this spring we will plow up. And so we don't mind putting the pigs in them on the 4th year. And the pigs, of course, will pressure it much more than the cattle will. And we're not worried about that. And so that's where we're putting the pigs. We did put the pigs last year. This year, let's see, I believe it's this pasture, and there's another one, I'm not sure which one, is the 4th year pasture, and that's where we will put the pigs this year, and where we will be looking at the difference between dry lot pigs and open pasture pigs. So just to the north, I said, is this section. This line right here was the north line, and we divided this field up into several paddocks this way. And so here's our dry lot area, and we kept then the pastured pigs separated from the dry lot pigs. And let's hope that this one works. You can see the dry lot here. Yeah, I wonder if I can it doesn't matter. And there's the little hoop house providing some shelter for the pigs. And then just as you come around from the hoop house, here you can see the edge of the pasture where we had the pigs, and they're very happy pigs. Yes. And we provided them a little bit of a shade and the feed and water. And and you can see here too that we don't let the pigs stay in there too long. We rotate them through these paddocks fairly quickly. It ended up being 5-6 days we could keep them in there before we had to move them on. So those sections were 200 feet by about 70 feet, each of those paddocks. So that's just what it divided up into. And that will be different, I'm sure, when we come to the triangle pasture. Yes?
I believe it was on one of his amazing pasture tours that Dr. Terry Valford mentioned that you should move your livestock at least on the 4th day.
Mm-hmm.
Because after being grazed, the grasses, the plants they'll come out of shock and they'll start to regenerate. And if they're nibbled again, they go back into shock for another 4 days. So by moving them when they're 6 to 8 inches and every 4 days, then you're regenerating faster the area that you're
Okay, good. So his comment, Troy, yes, okay. Troy's comment is that studies have shown that you should move them every 4 days. And that's better for the grasses, that they will recover from the grazing faster if you move them more often. So that's a good point, well taken. We'll keep that in mind. All right, all right, we're doing fine. All right, so this is the east side of one of those paddocks, and that is where we have a line of apricots. Well, imagine, what do you think the pigs did with the apricots? Of course, we didn't give them access to the tree trunks, but we gave them access right close to the trees. What do you suppose they did?
Well,
Yeah, they picked up several years of apricot pits. It was kind of fun. You go out there and they were constantly crunching on those pits, those apricot stones. They really, really liked them. And so that was encouraging, because that's what we have in mind with the silvopasture, is to provide nuts like acorns or hazelnuts that the pigs can have access to. We won't let them have access to the actual trunk of the tree to protect the tree, but we want them to have access to the fruit of the tree, and they love it. They just love it.
so did they actually eat that seed?
Yes, they actually were chewing on the pits. And of course, when the apricots were ripe, they just really liked it. But the pits, they would go after the pits. Yes, Doug?
Ray, don't you think it'd be safe to just flash graze apricots?
Let me get you the mic.
I guess my question is, couldn't you flash graze the apricots and there wouldn't be damage to the trunks from hogs? Or do you think the hogs would immediately damage trunks?
No, I think I agree with you that you could do that. You could, if you just were careful, very careful, just put them in for right by the trees for a very short time. Comment, Tom?
No, I think that's true. They usually don't get to where they're digging and rooting. If they can get the good stuff by just going on the surface and going after it, they're going to compete for the fruit until it's all gone.
Yeah, including the stones.
I've seen people do that with sheep under apple orchards. And the guy told me, he said he just had to keep an eye out. When the first old ewe would come up the trunk to nibble on a branch, he got them out of there. As long as there were apples on the ground, fruit on the ground, that's what they go for.
Okay, very good point. Two very good points. So you could give them access to the trees that you have in your silvopasture, but watch it very carefully, because you don't want them to tie into the tree. Once the fruit is picked up, then they're going to tie into the tree, and you don't want that. So, yes, Charles. Here, Charles.
The source of the apricot trees are Tom Thomas. How many years ago, Tom? I don't know.
Oh, it's gotta be 20.
20 years ago? Yeah, it's every bit of that.
Very cooperative group here.
Tell me, we need to talk. We need to talk.
Yes, okay. No, I think we must have 200 apricot trees on the farm, I would guess, which is a big job if you want to try and prune them. Yes?
Do you find that any of your hogs will bring various things they find around the property to a one place on the property? I know Andrew over here, he has hogs who do that. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
Okay, hang on a second. Let's get this comment. So Andrew, hi, welcome.
Hi.
Tell us what she's talking about.
So my pigs, I pasture them, and they will root up whatever pot shards or ground glass that happens to be around, because it's an old farm place that's been inhabited for 150 years, and they will deposit it in their water for me to find.
In the water?
Yep.
They're just trying to help you clean up. Wow, that's really good. Maybe the city of Lincoln could use some. What do you think?
And my question, we went and visited Mark Shepard's agroforest up in Wisconsin, and he pierced the nose so they don't root. They don't Do you do that, Ian?
I don't.
So that he had a ring in all their little
So-
noses and they didn't mess with the trees.
All right, so she's commenting on the ring, putting a ring in the nose of the pigs. We used to do that too when I was a kid, but I think it doesn't jive with regenerative ag. That would be a problem for regenerative ag.
If you put a rhinestone in the ring, it
There you go. Yeah, put a diamond in the ring and then you're all right. I think there's a scripture about that. What was that?
Casting pearls in front of them.
Casting pearls, yeah, right. Let's stick with apricots. All right. Yeah, one, yes.
Cow grazer, made the mistake of allowing his cattle to graze in a, where there's honey locust and thorny locust, and they do not digest in the rumen, and so the pasture in a few years was overwhelmed with seedlings.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's an interesting comment, that you could be seeding your pasture with, so you're saying specifically honey locusts
And thorny locust.
and thorny locust trees. So that's a good point. Thank you, Troy. To be careful if you have those trees in your forest or in your silvopasture. I wonder about if they would go through pigs too. They probably would.
That, and I'm wondering.
Anybody have a comment on that? Would those seeds go through pigs too?
So we raised our pigs, and I purposely put them in with some thorny locust plants, and they were smaller trees. The pigs actually, what was great about them is they would rub on them and they would kill the tree, and then they would actually root it out of the ground for me. But I didn't have any, and I still don't have any instance of actually any new growth of trees. So, but I do know they completely clean that area of all those trees. So that was one thing I used for them, but I didn't have any issues.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I wonder if it'd work on cedars. Wow. Okay, wow. Well, so anyway, the pigs love the apricots, and it's encouraging because that says we're probably on the right path, putting in some nut trees that the pigs will have access to in the future. All right.
Can I ask how do you protect the trunks?
The trunks?
Yeah, you said you give access to fruit, not the tree.
Well, I stopped the line before they could get to the tree. I didn't include the tree in the paddock, so the line was outside, or the tree was outside of the paddock.
And you do the other side then, and just.
The other side was cropped, so I didn't. They're waiting for the proper year when we get there with the tree. Okay, good. Well, so here's something that has already been commented on this morning, and that is, so this is our 4th year pasture again, and so we don't mind if they tear it up pretty bad. And that's what we did here. We have some bindweed pressure in different parts of our fields, and pigs love bindweed. And so you can see they dug some pretty deep holes here. What are they doing? They're going after the roots of the bindweed. And if David was here, he would tell you that he had one year where he left pigs in one area. He had really heavy bindweed pressure in that area to where it was stunting the growth of the corn the previous year. And then that fall, he had a fair amount of the corn that fell because of wind and other reasons. So he put the pigs in there. Well, the pigs they would leave the corn on the top of the field and dig for the bindweed roots. Yeah. And he said the next year, there was very little bindweed. He was just amazed. And he said he couldn't believe it. They would dig, 12, 18 inches to follow one little tiny bindweed root all the way down. He said the return on effort couldn't have been too good. But it's an important thing for us in organic farming to take note of something like this, that we can, because bindweed's a serious problem in many times, but you might think about, if you have a bindweed patch, fence it off, stick your pigs in there and let them have at it, and then see what they do with those bindweed the following year, and it will make a big difference for you.
That's how Ruth and Everett with Common Good. That's how Ruth and Everett with Common Good got associated with having pigs. Of course, they have to put that area into a non-food item the next year because of the pigs being in it. But yeah, that's what the
Okay, very good.
pigs.
Right, so it was very interesting. Well, you can see, again, if you leave pigs alone, they will tear something up really bad. We saw it with the plums in a previous slide and here again. But wow, taking care of bindweed, it's a real problem in many places, but they're a potential solution for it. Yes, Paul.
Ray, what kind of a tool do you use then to smooth that out after you've gotten it that way, as you go into the next phase?
Yeah, you know, I was talking to somebody earlier this morning. Well, it was actually our cameraman, and he was bringing all of his stuff in, and his son was helping him bring it all in. And I said, well, I really miss my slave labor, you know, my son. So I don't have him anymore to smooth this out for me. So, but yeah, I'll come in with the disc, and I'll come in with a chisel and smooth it out, and eventually I'll get to the cultipacker, which will smooth it out very, very nicely with a spring tooth. And it takes a couple of trips, yes. But to deal with the bindweed, I'm willing to do that. It's not ideal, of course, but we have to figure out something to deal with the bindweed. So, okay, that's a good question. All right, let's move on. All right, let's see if this is going to go. It should go. Well, rats. Why is it there? Good. Here we are getting the pigs that we used in our study. We've split them into two groups, and I want you to note the young lady in the back. We have an intern. We try and have an intern every year, and this is Isabella. She predominantly has lived and worked with cattle, and so she was very interested in how we were dealing with pigs, and it was a new experience for her. And we tagged one group of pigs with ear tags so we could tell if they got mixed up, which was which group, and get them back separated apart. They didn't ever get mixed up, so until we were ready to market them, and then we put them back together. But anyway, I wanted to point out that we are very, very interested in interns. We're always looking for an intern every year, at least one. In the past, we've had two, and I just want to go one more slide. Oh, let's go to the next one. There we go. This is a quote from, do you remember, what's her name?
Jane Coughlin.
Jane. Do you remember Jane Coughlin? 2 years ago, she was with us for 2 summers, Jane Coughlin, and she said, I can't believe I only have a few months left of college. It seems like just yesterday I was a freshman emailing Glenda to see if Glenda is David's sister, to see if I could be an intern at the grain place. Reflecting back, it's amazing to see how much the farm has shaped my interest and career with sustainability. That's the goal with interns, to affect and touch their interests and their careers, and hopefully in sustainability and agriculture of some sort. And so we're always open to interns, and we're looking hopefully to have an intern here again this summer. At this point, we don't have anybody lined up, but we're looking. And okay, so this then is the summary of our the difference between our two groups of hogs. And Charles, were you gonna help people understand this page? Well, you can see the date that we brought them in. You can see a little bit later the date that we have. The average weight as we brought them in was very close in the two groups. But as we took them apart at the end of the time, the Drylot hogs were significantly less than the pastured hogs. And the difference also in feed consumption was different. So the pounds of feed for a pound of weight gain, you can see is significantly different too. So that's interesting. If by having them out in the pasture, they eat a little bit less, but they gain much more for what they do eat. Isn't that interesting? The average daily weight gain also is significantly better in the pastured hogs. Okay. Yes.
We're really talking about the gleanings from the grain place foods, all the clean out stuff. And I don't know, what do most people do with their clean out stuff, Kristen? Do they sell it?
So those of you who don't know, Christian is the CEO of the Grain Place Foods, and he provides us with all the most of the material that we do then feed to the pigs. We do add supplements and minerals and salt, but the grains we get it from the gleanings of the Grain Place. So let me run over here, Christian.
The whole idea is we're adding value on the farm to a waste product.
Yeah, the hogs are a garbage disposal system for the plant, basically. So nothing gets wasted. And what we can't sell to area farmers for feed that might fall on the ground at our plant as well, that goes basically to our hogs, or it gets composted by Raymond and any of the other farmers that might be on the farm at the time. So it's really nothing gets wasted, kind of a closed loop system between the processing plant and cleaning plant, which is what I'm a part of, and the farm which Raymond runs. So it's really a nice regenerative system to be able to do that. But obviously it costs money to have the stuff that falls on the plant as well, on the floor in that respect, or for anyone who has hogs, you're having to figure out where you get your feed from versus growing your own feed in the field. So
You want to just say, bring your grain to us?
Sure, yeah. Well, yeah, give me a month or two to get things back on track. But yeah, we do have several cleaning lines there. We clean organic grains, a little bit of non-GMO, but 99% organic. A couple color sorting machines. We do custom co-packing for people as well, and we do all different types of grains. 95% of our stuff comes from domestic, and the stuff like chia and quinoa come from overseas because that's typically where the good quality stuff is grown right now. But yeah, we're at the plant. If any of you came through the tour yesterday for that, you're welcome to come by for a tour anytime though if you missed that. So we'd love to have you. And we're hiring. So not only is the farm hiring, but the plant is looking for some strapping young lads, whether that you've got a child who wants a summer job, whether it's interning on the farm or coming to work for the plant, or anybody who's looking for full-time positions that doesn't mind working. We'll have you.
Let me just real quickly introduce Brian. He's with us now just a few days, and we're happy to have you, Brian. He's helping me on the farm. So welcome, Brian. All right, so are there any questions on this slide before we end? Yes.
Ray, and check it. Your data seems counterintuitive because the conventional wisdom is every time a hog or a cow steps, they want to burn calories. So why is the rate of gain higher when the animal's allowed to walk?
Run that again.
Oh,
Sorry.
the data seems counterintuitive because the conventional wisdom, like I was in the dairy business, and you want to confine the cattle because every time they walk, step, etc., they're burning calories. Same with the hog. So these hogs are out there running all over the place, burning all kinds of calories, yet they gain more. So, Chuck, what the heck?
Hang on a second now. You want to comment on that?
No, not really.
No?
I don't know what's going on, Doug, but I mean, there's a lot of confounding here. A lot of confounding, and we've got, two groups of hogs, the same. And I'd say other things about on-farm research real quick, and Gary here is the guru on this, and he worked on this in Missouri a lot as well as here in Nebraska. If you have questions about these grants, talk to Dr. Leswing, check out the SARE display. They're very good to work with. And Gary, I think, you know, this was a $9,000 grant for 2 years. You obviously don't set up a long-term silvopastoral thing in 2 years, but you get it going. And I would say that a small grant like that actually leverages a lot of other resources from the farm. So, you know, we're getting a lot of bang for the small investment from the federal government on this. So please talk to Gary if you have questions or interest in doing something on farm.
Okay. Yes, Luke.
I'd like to point out one thing. I'd like to just point out one thing about that issue that Doug brought up. So this is comparing hogs on dirt to hogs on pasture. Those hogs on dirt, you know, they're going to be moving around too. It's not like a confinement. I think if you take another step and let's compare them to those in a true confinement system, those probably are walking less, as your point. But I think you still have a lot of exercise going on in the dirt, but I think you're getting more effective exercise because they're walking for more of a purpose. So to me, I think that's part of that answer is the dirt hog, you know, they're still moving around quite a bit too, so.
I'll have to find somebody else to do that comparison. I'm not going to do any confinement. Yeah. All right. Well, just in conclusion, here is the information again. We saw this slide before of the SARE people. If you're interested in working with a grant, they are wonderful and a blessing to work with. So I encourage it. You wanted to introduce some?
That's a really good point. And one of the parts of the grant, I think we did put in that we were going to get data from a confinement hog place if we could on rates of gain, and just to be able to, it's not a real technical comparison, but it gives us some idea at least. Yeah, I wanted to introduce two, I think probably the newest people in NSAS who joined a week ago. Dave Vetter, by the way, is one of the original founders of the Nebraska Organic Ag Society, I think it was called, that morphed into the NSAS. So our newest members are Nancy and Alan Meyer, and if they could take just a few minutes and just tell us in general about your place and what you see for the future. I don't know if we have time to go through all the slides, but...
oh, did you have slides? Oh.
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Here you go.
I don't know if you might need some technical help here, but.
Technical help, that's you, Raymond, right?
Okay, so while she's getting that ready, I'll explain a little bit. We have a small acreage, quite small, 5 acres with a large house on it. And we've been looking for somebody to partner with us for a legacy. And this is something a lot of people want to do. We have done some sustainable things. We have a small hugelkultur in an old cement watering trough. I dug a greenhouse, put it and built it out of scrap that we had laying around the place, old windows and some polycarbonate, some wood that we had left over from tearing down a garage. And I just want to make a comment on the bindweed. When I dug that, I went down 4 feet for the growing bed and another 4 feet for circulation of air, so that's down 8 feet. I dug this by hand. And the bindweed, I found the roots down 6 feet. Those things go down far. I'm amazed that the pigs could actually kill it, because that stuff is still growing up in my, at the 4 feet down in the growing bed of the greenhouse.
Yeah. So I can't resist commenting on that. I fully agree with you. Yeah, they're not killing it. They're just setting it way back. And that's a big plus. But my wife, Catherine, PhD in history, Middle East history, professor of history. Anyway, if you want to know something about the Vikings and slavery in Islamic period. Anyway, her grandfather when 2,4-D, not 2,4-D,
The very first chemical.
some of the very, very first chemicals, and they were very careful in regulating them at that time, 100 years ago. He had a patch of bindweed, and he went in there and he sprayed it with straight, just really, really heavy, strong spray. And he killed everything, and nothing grew for the next year, and the third year, and the fourth year, nothing grew. Fifth year, bindweed. And that's the only thing that survived.
I think she's ready. I think she's ready.
Here you go.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, this is, most people ask us, where do we live? And so this is a satellite map. It shows we're about 1.5 miles south of the Platte River in northern Saunders County. You can see Bramble State Wildlife Management Area is there right on the Platte. And that, obviously, that red dot there is our address. Whoops, this always happens. So we're at the end of kind of I like to call it a wildlife cul-de-sac, because you can see the line that comes up from the Platte, the line that goes between all the fields and the tree line. There's a ravine. And so we get an abundant amount of wildlife, which is something I really like. You can see our place there under that red dot is what Alan is talking about. That is our 5 acres. There's an acre on either side of us, approximately an acre on either side of us that is not ours, but it's used by the man who rents the ground around us to get access to his field, and there's some bins there. We do know that the acreage around us will be coming up for sale within the next 5 to 10 years. And the man who rents that ground and farms it in the traditional way, corn, beans, rotation, fertilizer, he is no longer interested in continuing that lease. So that acreage would be very great to reunite with this farm ground, or with this original property, because this property is a 1904 property. It's the original homestead, and that was originally, with that property that would be reunited then. And that gives you an idea of where we are and what we have. I just wanted to show that so that people could understand. Did you want to say some more?
Talk about revision, yeah, that's like you.
Oh, sure.
Is that by North Bluff?
Yes, it is. It's halfway between Morris Bluff and Cedar Bluffs. So if you look at this picture again, I should have put it, let's see if I have another one. Okay, in this, it's closer in, right? You can see our property. I explained that there's an acre on either side of us to the east and west. So on the side to the east, I've got 2 Cedar Bluffs and Fremont down there, and then Morris Bluff, and I don't know why I put 2S. It's Morris Bluff, not Morris Bluff, and North Bend in the other direction. So that gives you, yeah, we're in the North Bend School District, actually.
Okay.
So.
I'm from Fremont.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I went to Cedars and Eagle and all those Boy Scout camps.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're back there. There's also a Pawnee sacred site, very nearby our home on the river. It's their origin story sacred site. Did you want to talk some more?
I just wanted to make a couple of comments.
Okay.
Like I said, we're willing to provide this as a resource for anybody that can make any use of it at all. But still maintain it. We don't want to have confinements around us, things like that. We are willing to help acquire the land around it, but it's too much for us to actually put up all the money to begin with ourselves. We're interested in leasing it to somebody who will do regenerative, anything that we can rehabilitate that land, because that it's pretty depleted. Now, it's an irrigated farmland, so it is very expensive. So.
How's it irrigated?
Pivot. Yeah, and they've moved it. They used to have the pivot so that it would actually water our garden behind a barn, but they moved the pivot away, so we don't get the free water anymore.
Well, you gotta know what's in that water too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The home was originally set up, as I said, there's original property. So the place is set up for cattle and for chickens and horses. We have taken down some of those things because we have no livestock at all. We do have bees. I guess that's livestock, but, pardon me? Yeah, we could, yeah. So there is a lot of opportunity on this property that is not being really, but the current owners are just maybe a little too lazy, I don't know. Alan doesn't like to call our place a farm because he grew up on a farm, and we don't sell anything off our farm. We give everything away. Every year we give, come on out, pick our berries, come on out, pick our fruit. He never wanted to live on a farm because he didn't want to work that hard. That's what he told me. So, so the place is not really even currently being used as much as it should be. We could feed several families just off the 5 acres that we have. And what we've done is just sort of make it the way we want it. And we've made a lot of upgrades to the home over the years. We had restored the home. Yes, you wanted to see the vision thing. And we also put in a lot of green things, like we put in solar panels, et cetera. So this is what Alan was talking about. We have 3 children, none of which are interested in moving back or owning the property, ever living there again. And they're all out of state. And we feel like if we just sold the place, it would be a shame, because who knows what would happen to it. And so, we thought, well, we could probably hold on to the place. We're already planning to build a new home out of state, and we're working on that. We've purchased the ground, and, our interests are turning more toward that because we need to downsize. So, this is something that we thought maybe we could leave a legacy. And maybe if people are interested in some way, we could bring together some people who would like to do that. Talk about, somebody mentioned an intern. Yeah, we could have some interns out there. And so this is mainly what we had in mind. We've entertained a lot of different ideas about how to do it. And anything from establishing our own nonprofit and setting up something like that to just, as Alan said, having somebody who will maintain it and respect it and make good use of it, just rent it from us.
Okay, thank you.
So that's it. There's the home.
The grain bins, are those yours, or is that?
They are not ours, no.
I just saw a NET special, and they were remaking the grain bins into houses.
Yeah, we've seen houses made that way. Yeah, it's interesting.
That'd be so cool if you could get a hold of those.
Yeah, they go with the farm ground currently,
Right. They're not big enough to be useful. I would like to talk to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Al, Nancy. That's great. And I think this just frames a question that a lot of farmers have who want to establish their legacy, make sure some good things happen in the future, that it doesn't turn into, more corn, soybean ground. And so you've seen 2 models today, one grain place that's been going since the 50s and one that's just really starting. And I would contest your thing about not wanting to work. Anybody who can dig out a whole underground greenhouse, you got a lot of energy, Alan.
I should have showed a picture of that.
COVID had a big influence on that.
Yeah, he made it out of scrap material.
So we're over our time, but thanks so much for coming, and I hope you got some ideas, and be sure and talk to these folks, during the breaks and all. Okay? Thank you, and thanks to Raymond, too.